Hello, everyone. Today we have author Elle Brockett here, author of Bloodstone and Dandelions, and it's the first one that I have the physical book here to show up for. Um, and I loved it, and it tortured me.
That's my
um,
goal to torture my readers. I'll be 100% there.
so, Elle, for those that haven't read the book, can you please tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, so Bloodstone and Dandelions is a high dark fantasy. We have five POV characters spanning different parts of the world of Ailiar. Um, and it's kind of showing the different paths that different people take when a war is brewing. We have lots of elemental magic. We have elves. There's a bit of a Pride and Prejudice mix into it because obviously you've got your different races. And some think they're more superior than others. We have sand pirates, which is probably my absolute favorite. Um, yes, I love sailing on the sand. It's great. Anakin would hate it.
Yes, definitely. I did think that was quite a unique turn on the elemental magic too, so that was pretty awesome.
It's funny because I was writing it when I was working on that part. I actually got my husband to watch Shadow and Bone with me, and he watched the skiffs go across, and he goes, "Is this where you got the idea from?" And I'm like, "I actually had no idea what this was, so no. Please, I did not copy Lee Bardugo."
I think it like with everything these days, like everything's been done in some way, shape, or form. You're just like doing it in a different way.
Hmm,
So it's very hard to be completely original these days.
100%.
So why did you need to write this book?
I've wanted to write a book for years. I have so many unfinished works in progress on my computer and in my files. Um, this particular story actually sprouted from an idea that sprouted three stories.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and I thought it was very interesting how one idea could evolve so much that it actually changes and has three different like branches and avenues. I am planning on working on another one of those ideas, which would be really great, which is like a portal fantasy, um,
Ooh.
with Fae and everything. Yep, very keen for that. Um, but yeah, actually, I started writing it during COVID, and I put it aside at 40,000 words. Went to book fair for the first year, spoke to a bunch of lovely indie authors, went home, picked it up, and didn't put it down after that. So yeah, community is kind of like really big, especially in like the Australian indie author scene. And yeah, that they really pushed me to get it done, especially having published authors go, "Hey, when's your book coming out?" Like
Oh,
that's a big
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
That's like, oh, I would just like burst into tears.
Yeah, the second year that book fair was on, I'd be going up and like getting new books, and they would recognize me and they go, "So you're here next year, right?" And I was there the next year, so that was great.
Yes, and that's where finally got. That was last year, yes?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Yes, and that's where I finally got to meet you.
Yeah.
And I bought all these like little goodies. I even have like the candles here.
I've got my Di'Ath one
Ah!
in the background.
And this, like, out of the thing, so I got the big package with all the like little merch and stuff. My absolute favorite thing, which I was like amazed by, was this because
Oh,
you made
yes.
it.
Yes, I did.
And then it's got Toby
Oh,
on
it's got
it.
Toby on the bottom. Oh, I love Toby. So those
And I
wristlets
was just
are
like, oh,
actually based on a historical example of tablet weaving found in a Viking burial plot, um, the Osberg burial plot. So I
oh
just
wow.
slightly adapted it to make it fit because I am nothing if not weaving my personal knowledge and interest into my own stories.
Yes, definitely. And on your TikTok and Instagram and everything, you're always going on about historical accurate clothing and everything. So that's how much research for that went into Bloodstones and Dandelions.
Um, so there's probably going to be a bit of a bigger focus on it in book two, considering we do see a lot more of our characters actually in Baliak and actually having money to spend on clothing rather than just taking what is made there. Obviously, Maida is the daughter of a tailor, so she
Mm.
has this interest and this knowledge about clothing anyway. Think there was a scene that ended up getting cut of her gathering wild mint, and using it to dye a dress for the mayor's daughter back when she was still in Silktide. So, and obviously you've got her wishing dress, which is dyed by dandelions as well. So yeah, there is a lot of stuff that went into it. Um, but a lot of it is also just bits and pieces that I picked up on my journey as, a armchair uh, clothing historian as well. Like the clothes that she wears when she goes on her adventure. I'm trying to say it without doing too many spoilers. Like her leg wraps, I have multiple pairs of those leg wraps, and they were used from the Dark Ages all the way up to like World War II. Like, so there's such
Wow.
a long history of specific items of clothing, and yeah,
And I love so much in it that, she is a tailor's daughter and she has all those skills because I feel like, you know, these days that's not a common skill anymore.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
quite unique, and to see that played out and then into a fantasy world as well, it's like, oh, it's just like that, like, I don't know, it's something unique and wholesome,
yes, yeah. There's
and especially in such a dark book.
yes. Well, she might need to learn wire wrapping for some things. I know that facial expression, you knew exactly where I was going with that. It's great.
Um, um, and so why did you decide to go the indie publishing route for Bloodstones and Dandelions?
I am a control freak. I love having control. I created my own cover. I did all the formatting myself. Everything was done myself except for editing. Obviously, I commissioned an artist for my map. I commissioned an artist for my artwork. Um, but I also like having my own schedule, and I don't want someone to come in and go, I want you to change XYZ because I think it will sell better. I want to write the story that I want to write. Um,
Yeah.
I really only reached out to one traditional publisher, and that was I really like the authors in this catalog. If they take me, they take me. Didn't end up happening, but it was kind of like I was already scheduled to self-publish anyway, so there was no
Yeah.
skin off my nose. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I've heard with the indie publishers that indie authors that I've interviewed. Control is a thing. I didn't know that you created the cover.
Yeah, I
It's
created the
amazing.
cover myself. I'm gonna plug Canva. This is all done in Canva.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and obviously I like having secret covers underneath. So
Yes.
I was very proud of myself that I was able to get that for my debut novel.
Yes. And then I absolutely love the I was just looking through the book earlier, and where do we have it? The map.
Yeah, so that was
Like, it
done
is
by my
so
friend
dark.
Sirius. Yeah.
It's done so well and like legible.
Yeah.
Because there's so many in books where you're like full on like squinting. I'm like, where's my magnifying glass so I can actually read the name? Oh. And
Yeah.
so I do have some of the artwork
Yeah.
here.
That's a
Thank you for
Caprier, and we
that.
have our wives. I don't know what happened. I was supposed to focus on the five POV characters for artwork, and I don't have any. Like the only artwork that I have of the POV characters are like two chibi ones, which didn't even make it to merch yet. Um, they're just sitting in my beta chat. They are being worked on. They are being worked on. I will say that. And I have seen some previews. The one with I don't even know if saying the name is a spoiler. There is one particular POV character where the artwork was done, and I had to turn around to my artist to be able to release this until book three because the artist had put in some very spoilery stuff
Oh.
in the artwork, and they're like, "But it's so pretty." I'm like, "It is pretty, but no." We don't find out about that until the end of book two. So
And how is book two coming along?
I am just over 200 pages through it. Uh, 42,000 words. Yeah, pretty good. I sent my outline to my editor and she's like, what the fuck? Like, this book is going to be 1,000 pages long. I'm like, yes, this is why I had to split it. Like, one and two were supposed to be one book initially.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, the ending of book one was supposed to be the midway point. Could you imagine how hefty that is?
Jeez,
Yeah.
that'd be epic. Um, and as you said, we have five POV characters.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite to write?
Um, See, I learned while editing book one that the character that I thought I loved writing the most was not the one that I found easiest to write. Um, Di'Ath is my absolute favorite. He is a womanizing, like playboy, he's the youngest prince that was never supposed to see power and was supposed to just be able to go around and you know, love on whoever he wants to love on. Um, and that we see that a lot more in book two. And I love those kinds of characters. Would I like them in real life? No, but I love them like in books. Um, so I thought that was my best character to write, my most favorite character to write. But Aros comes so easy.
Oh,
There is
really?
something about writing Aros that comes so easy to me. And Calliope is a love-hate relationship. There is a little bit too much of myself in Calliope, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, oh, that poor girl.
I do see a lot of your TikToks and Instagram reels um, from like Calliope's perspective, and I feel like she would be a fun mind to get into.
Yeah, yeah, I do focus on her a lot when it comes to the marketing side of things, which I need to spread it out. But my husband has helped with some of my plot holes that I've had issues with. And there was one time we were driving up to medieval training, and he turns around to me and goes, "I think we put Calliope through too much." And I'm like, "But you give me all these ideas." And he goes, "Yeah, doesn't mean you have to run with them and make them 10 times worse." So.
And because like there's five, like yeah, there's five POV characters. When writing them, how do you like? Do you have to only write one for a thing and then take a break, or how do you distinguish between them when you're actually writing?
Um, So I finally started plotting, thanks to Christine. But it allows me to quilt a little bit better because at the end of the day, I'm a pantser. Um, so originally the story was just supposed to be single POV from Maida's point of view, and then it evolved as stories do. Um, but I don't actually just sit with one character and write that and then, walk away and then come back. I kind of go, okay, this bit's done. I want to write this bit now. And it doesn't really matter who it is or where it's from or where in the story it is. Yeah, I can jump around very quickly with them, which is great.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. I feel like I'd be so confused.
I think because they do, I mean, at least I hope they do have such distinct voices as well. It is easy, especially if I have the notes there and I can go, okay, so this is what they're doing. It's like you can jump in and kind of go, yep, okay, so this is what they're doing. And as I said, I've been with them for well, 5 years now, considering it was 4 years to write. Um, yeah, they've been sitting with me for ages, so I think that helps.
Yeah, and do you have any tips for writers, authors that are writing multiple POVs?
Plot. Plotting's the easiest, like it makes it easier. Um, and kind of, even if you don't sit down and write chronologically what this character does from the first page to the last page, at least get an idea of where their arc is going. That way you're not going, okay, this is supposed to be X character chapter. What are we doing here? Like, where are they supposed to be going? Have an idea of each character's individual internal arcs as well, because their external um, influences may be the same, but their internal ones will always be very, very different.
Yeah. And like when you said that you had written things previously and just never finished it, were they all high fantasy things as well?
Primarily, I have got some paranormal romance sitting there ready to go, which I am hoping to add as well. Kind of similar to at least Cover's Married to Magic, where they're all like separate stories, but like similar universe sort of thing. Um,
Yep.
but the first story that I really spent a lot of time on, was kind of inspired by the idea of what if Clary Fairchild went away with Sebastian in City of Bones, or not City of Bones, Mortal Instruments, and like what happened if that brother and sister actually went and then went against everything, but they weren't actually evil. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was very much inspired by Shadowhunters, which anybody who knows my collection can understand and see that. Um, but yeah, that's a high fantasy. I toyed with making it urban, toyed with making it high. Like I keep switching every time I pick it up. I like rewrite the entire thing in a completely different genre. Like, but I do focus on the fantasy elements. I'm not great with contemporary.
Yeah, and like I asked because in my review and clearly while reading the book, that was one thing that was like mind blowing to me is that this is your debut. And I'm like, how? I'm like, you must have worked so hard at like, because I don't currently write at the moment, and I haven't written fantasy, but like high fantasy, and then on top of that, you're adding multiple POVs. Like it just feels like so much, and you've just done it so well, and it was incredible.
Thank you so much. One of the things that one of the comments that I received, especially from my editor who realized that I didn't actually plot things the way that they do, was the amount of detail that I do put in, like with the bodices and the gambesons, um, being lined with caprio hair and fur, because historically, this is where that costuming comes in. Historically, the gambesons, military gambesons, were lined with horsehair. You could also do it with various layers of linen and glue and whatever. But so one of the things that was really important to me, like with my world building, because it is fantasy. I did want it to make sense and be realistic. Just because it's fantasy doesn't mean it can't be realistic. You can have sea worms and sandworms, and it still has to make sense. Otherwise, what are you doing? Like, what's the point? Um, so for me, writing the high fantasy and doing it that way, I had to really make sure that all the little bits and pieces really fit in with the world, but also fit in with our worldview and my interest in historical accuracy, um, is kind of like what I leaned into for that.
Yeah, and it definitely shines through in the book because like all those little details, and I do feel like um, having bits of our world or things that stem from our world in fantasy does make fantasy better.
Yeah.
Because I think it's easier for us to understand then.
Mm. It's
Um,
there's an actual term for it, but it's an example of like, a creature coming to our world in our time and then trying to explain what a washing machine is.
yeah.
And like if you look at it from their perspective, like it's a box with a circular door that rumbles and changes fabrics from dirty to clean. Like it's kind of doing that, but like backwards.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and I'm just mind blown that you're a pantser and you don't plot. Is that as chaotic as it sounds?
Yes, yes. I get writer's block more often than not, because of it. And even though I've got the outline there, like the amount of times in the last few months that I've opened my outline, looked at it, and go, okay, this chapter sounds interesting. Let's work on that. And then I doom scroll and my document stays blank. I have had to record myself writing before just so my phone wasn't there to touch.
And that's a good approach though to like then you have some content of you actually writing.
Yeah, yeah, you got B-roll. It's great.
um, for the sequel, at the moment, are we getting any new POV characters?
We're not getting any new POV characters, and we won't have any new POV characters for the main series.
Okay.
However, I'm also working on a novella
Ooh,
which has two POV characters, and it is basically uh, a knight's tale, but make it gay with battle goats. And
nice.
the two POV characters, one of them is a farm girl who is trying to make a fortune so she doesn't have to marry a farm boy because she's not interested. And the other character we have actually met in the main series, but she's going by another name.
Ooh,
Yes. So very
that sounds
excited about that.
interesting.
We also get a new language introduced into it as well. We actually get to see what Rupa Bergen is. Um, and then yeah, so that's another thing that I had to work on because Alien is a mix of Latin, Irish Gaelic, and Scottish Gaelic. And yeah, Rupa Bergen has influences from Macedonia.
Wow.
Yes.
It seems like so much is in your brain. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
It's funny how they can be so much in there, but it's so smooth. There are no ridges or bumps.
Um, and one of my most important questions that I have written down here is, do you revel in the pain of others?
Yes. Yes. Yes, I do.
Because Bloodstone and Dandelions is quite dark, and you do have a specific chapter that you like people to
Message me when they read.
message you about. What what was going through your mind, and what were your feelings when you were writing that?
So originally it wasn't going to be on page.
Okay.
And as I was editing and reworking it, I'm like, you know what? They can handle it because it's only going to get worse from here.
Cool.
Um, and when I was going to do PR boxes, unfortunately that never materialized, due to financial reasons. I did also toy with the idea of adding a little trinket reminiscent of that chapter with a note to say, do not open until you've read this, and to film reactions. Um, but I realized that may have been a step too far.
Yeah, because that was an intense chapter. Um, I do like, however, that you have a very detailed, like, content warning page, which
Yes,
I always appreciate in books because, like, mental health is more important than finishing a book.
yes, yes, 100%.
But I did, like, although it was very dark and torturous, I did like that you don't hide away from the pain and stuff because it is a story about what's happening during, like, war,
Yeah, yeah,
and
um,
horrible things happen.
yes.
So yeah,
And as I said, it's gearing up for war, so it's the war hasn't even started yet.
yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that book two is called Maidens and Mourners, I think that kind of sets the tone for where that darkness is heading, which is really great. I'm so excited for you guys to see what happens in Maidens and Mourners. Like, I was more excited. I'm more excited to write this, even though I'm struggling with it so hard, than I was to write Bloodstone and Dandelions. So, yeah.
Exciting. And how many books are you planning again?
So I'm planning four for the main series, but of the two editors that look at my work, they keep
Okay.
mentioning five. So we'll see. And then my husband keeps wanting me to write the story of Meitranis and her time when she becomes queen and her relationship that she develops. So
There's definitely, like, I can, like, you've already got the novella that you're going to do. It's definitely a story that you could just keep writing from other
yes,
characters'
yes,
experiences and timelines and everything, and I feel like it would be amazing.
yeah. I don't want to go. I don't want to milk it too much, but
Yeah.
Ailiar is such a rich world, and like there are four countries on the map alone, which have multiple stories that I could touch on. Um, yeah, like I could go to Zadanai, I could go to Ruperberg, like Colosia even. Like who wants to read about humans in fantasy? But we could go to Colosia. But yeah, so there's a lot that has been written down. It just depends on how much I actually want to spend on this and whether I want to work on my other
Yeah.
projects.
Um, Another thing that I absolutely loved and was in awe in throughout the whole story is of course we've got the five POV characters, but like you said, we have the different countries and stuff. And not only are they diverse in their environment, but you've like included so much. Like you've got history and religion and all that stuff. And what was your inspiration for all of that?
Um, the idea that in a fantasy world, everybody has the same religion or the same belief systems just never sat right with me. And I'm not saying that there are those instances necessarily. But for me to have some place like Zadanai, which was inspired by Turkey, um, well, obviously the multiple countries, but primarily the clothing and the architecture was very inspired by Turkey and Persia. Um, for them to have the same religion as a polytheistic religion, such as Ailiar and their ancient ones, um, didn't really make sense. And I liked the idea of, well, one, I like polytheistic religions personally, which is where the Alia comes from and all the different uh, gods and ancient ones. Like you got Dityan, which is obviously inspired by Hades being the god of the underworld and death, and the curses of may Dityan take you. Um, but the tide, I'm not even sure where the tide came from, but I'd probably be more of a follower of the tide than I would of the ancient ones, to be honest. Like it's just so beautiful of like because the tide, when you go out into the sea, it carries you. It takes you where it wants you to go rather than where you necessarily want to go. Plus the idea of when you die, you don't necessarily go to somewhere else. You just become one with the universe again. Um, yeah, I have no idea where the inspiration for that came from. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see more of how it reacts because Di'Ath, in his pursuit of Calliope, tries to learn more about alien customs as well. And so we'll actually see a bit more of a comparison between the two religions and cultures as well
Yeah.
in book two
And
specifically.
um, yeah, and that in itself and all the other character dynamics are great. Like, you have brother and sister, you have, you know, a betrothal, you have someone that saves someone else, like all these things. It's just like I'm in awe of your book. I'm pretty sure it was one of my absolute favorite reads of last year.
Thank you so much.
And it, like, have you done a lot of travel yourself?
No, no,
No.
I have not left Australia. Um, yeah, haven't left Australia at all. I do try to keep like a diverse group of friends. The reason why Bergen is inspired by Macedonia is my artist Sirius is Macedonian. Um, there is only one word that I remember in Macedonian, which is tikva, which is an insult for someone who is dumb because it means head empty. Your head is empty like a gourd. Um, and their mum calls me tikva friend. Um, um, when I lived up in Armidale, I worked with a lot of Muslim people, both from like they range from Egypt to Pakistan to Saudi Arabia. Like I took part in Ramadan um, uh, celebrations when they were breaking their fast and Eid, and I made a post about how in Zadanai tea is very, very important in the culture, and how one of the reasons is because I got gifted a tea set from my Pakistani friend, and how much like I treasured that. So while I haven't traveled myself, I try to immerse myself in as much with as many cultures as I can, um, to yeah, I feel like you don't have to be well traveled to be well read, or to understand other people and where they come from and their culture. And
Yeah, that's really beautiful, and like it must be incredible for those friends to have, inspired that for you, and it's a really beautiful friendship.
when I first sent my character sheet of Ailiar to Sirius for artwork, they messaged me and they were like, Ailiar's got my nose. Like that Mediterranean, like real bumpy. No, oh, they're so beautiful. I love those noses. And I was like, well, yeah, Ailiar was like inspired by you. Um, and like, this even the spelling of Ailiar with the J being a Y, that's like a very Slavic thing as well. Um, so yeah, I get a lot of my inspiration from people that I have met, whether it's, long term, short term, or just in passing. And I try to read about as much as I can. So
That's that's lovely. Has your approach for writing and marketing changed now that the first book is out?
I suck at marketing so bad. Um, I think my problem is my problem with writing is once I finished B&D, I wanted to go straight into Maidens and Mourners, and I didn't give myself time to relax and to stop. And because of that, I pushed myself into a writing slump that has lasted far longer than I care to admit. I did some more writing yesterday, which is very happy about
Oh,
that.
yay.
Yay! It was Di'Ath, so we all love that. Um, as for marketing, I don't know, it's so hard because like I don't like leaving my house.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
And to go out and do it, like I've got my book down in Victoria with G.R. Thomas. I have some copies of my book in Shell Harbour with Bookspot Cafe. The local book exchange, I've taken my books there. So I've been trying to get my books out into other places where I'm not. Um, but yeah, the online marketing and stuff, it's hard. I'm not going to pretend that it's not hard. Especially when I can make a post about, you know, something completely unrelated and it gets hundreds and hundreds of views and comments and likes. And then something that I post about my book stays at 200 views, which
Yeah.
that's algorithm. That's me needing to figure shit out. Like that's nothing to do with like, I'm not going, oh no, people aren't looking at my stuff. That's a me problem. Um, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure. And I was going to be doing a few events this year. But seeing as my super secret project of my no longer having a book baby, but also having a baby, um, I had to cancel my appearance at Supernova this year, unfortunately, because I was not comfortable walking around a very crowded floor while being that pregnant.
Yeah. I've always said to like my mom, like pregnancy terrifies me for many reasons. But I'm like, why do people leave their house when they're like really, really like
Yeah,
that can happen at any point? Like I was a month early, and
please
I'm
don't
like,
tell me that.
and I'm just like, not that I really leave my house much at the moment,
Yeah.
but I'm just like, I would just be comfortable and at home where you've got like your go bag and your
Yeah, we're still planning on attending Supernova as attendees rather than as exhibitors,
yeah.
purely because the hotel room that I booked is non-refundable. Uh, but yeah, the the stress of setting up a table, and I'm not sure if I told you, but like when we set up for book fair, my table collapsed 10 minutes before opening.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, so the idea of having to deal with that while being pregnant on top of it, like it's already an emotional roller coaster, and then you've got additional hormones on top of that, being tired and uncomfortable. Like it's it's beautiful. Pregnancy is beautiful. Having a child in the world is
And
beautiful. But
it's a miracle.
but yeah. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to focus on. I say unfortunately, it's just the way that it is. It's not fortunate or unfortunate. Just focus on digital marketing and then doing interviews like this. I do want to get on some more lives with Christine, and maybe a couple of other authors as well, which will really help I hope.
Yeah, and I feel like lots of authors, especially indie authors, because you definitely have to do your own marketing. Like
Mm,
traditionally published authors still have to as well. Um, but like I feel like a lot of introverts go into writing, because it can
yeah.
be quite, you're doing your own thing. It's a story you made up in your head and you're doing it. And then it's like, but as soon as like it's done, it's like, then you have to be an extrovert.
Yep,
And it's
yep.
like, oh,
We
crap.
need a whole severance thing where like my outie can like manage all my marketing and stuff, and my innie can stay back and write books.
Yes, definitely. And was Book Fair Australia last year your first
Yes,
ever event?
it was my
And
first
how
ever
was
event.
that for you?
It was really good. I went with 8 boxes of books and came back with like one and a half.
Oh,
I
wow.
sold out of all of my book bundles, like the one that you bought, sold out of all of them, bar one on the first day. Um, all of my wristlets were gone super early. Um, yeah, it was phenomenal. Like it was great. I made back my table and my hotel room and pre-orders alone, and then everything else
Wow.
was just pure profit. Like I had an amazing, and considering that weekend was actually my debut as well. So the book fair day one was the day that my book was released. Like it was, yeah, phenomenal, fantastic. Like it could not have gone any better, except if my table didn't break down. But something had to go wrong, right?
Yeah. And how was that compared to like your experience as being a visitor compared to being a vendor there?
Um, well, each year I had gone with my mum previously. And each year we spent more and more time. The first year we were able to do an entire round of the tables before we went back and got the stuff that we wanted. The second year we didn't make it around the second time. Um, and then so being on the other side of that table and, you know, because it was my first event, my pitch was very long-winded when I first started, like at the beginning of the day, to the point my husband turns around and goes, "All right, you need to cut out this and this and this, focus on this, short and snappy. If they ask more questions, then you can go into more detail. But for now, just bring it." Um, and it's my baby. Like I'm gonna ramble on, like, and also my first event, and you're nervous too, like literally shaking, like being
Yeah.
like, "Yes, read my book. It is great." But yeah, it was a really good experience. Yeah.
Well, that's so good. And I'm so glad that you had such a successful first
Yeah.
event because that's incredible. And like it would have been such an incredible thing because it was like your launch weekend as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it
I
just
always
makes it all that
wanted
special.
to have my launch at an event. And my next book I'll probably try to figure out a way to coincide it with an event as well. Um, which my next event will actually be in 2026 and it will be here in Campbelltown. So,
Ooh, exciting.
yes, that is nice and close to home. Don't have to get any accommodation, nothing.
That makes it nice and easier. Um, and so your husband is clearly very supportive of all of
Yes,
this.
he calls himself my co-author. And he calls my books his retirement plan.
Yes. Well,
And I
that's the dream.
appreciate the support and the sentiment, but the amount of times that I've had to actually show him my royalty report and go, no,
You're not retiring anytime soon.
yeah, nah.
And that must like make all the difference. Like, and for him to go to the events with you and
Yeah,
have that feedback. Is he a reader in general, or is he just oh,
no.
that's lovely?
So he reads every now and then. He grew up reading, like devouring books. He loves Ranger's Apprentice and Percy Jackson. Like he absolutely loved those books. Um, Funnily enough, the books that he grew up reading, I never touched when I was a kid. Like I never read Percy Jackson, never read Ranger's Apprentice, so I read the first books of each series because of him. Um, he still hasn't read my book. He kept going, I want to
Oh,
read it when it's finished. I don't want to read a draft, but he knows everything that happens anyway because I bounce all
yeah.
of my ideas off him. And yeah, they're like, I'll go to him and I'll be like, all right, so I've got this idea for the armor. and I want this, make it work. Because where I go with the costuming and stuff, he's that way with weaponry and armor. Like we'll be watching
Oh
a
yeah.
movie or something, and I I hate that he got me into medieval reenactment because now I see it too. Like we'll be watching a show or something, and something will come up, and I'm like, that that's not accurate. Like that specific armor was designed to stop that. That wouldn't have happened. Um, and he does the same. Like we could even like modern stuff. We'll be watching something and be like, no, that's not the gun that they'd be using in this time for this. Like they'd be using this instead. And I'm like, can you not? Can you just please? But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can get like that. Like I read and watch things like so much that I'm very good at like storylines and plots now.
Mm,
And so I'll be like watching something with mum and I can't remember what we were watching, but like it was the first like 10 minutes of the movie and we were in the cinema and the cinema wasn't that full or anything. And I was just, and at one point I'm like, oh, and she's like, what? And I'm like, one of the parents is gonna die.
yeah. Yeah.
And she
That
was like,
pattern
why would you say that?
recognition
And then like
is
10 minutes later,
terrible. Yeah. 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 I've
and it
done that
makes me
to him
feel
before.
smart,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
makes me feel really smart, but at the same time, I'm just like, am I kind of ruining this for myself?
But it's like those memes, right? When you pick up a book specifically for the enemies to lovers and the enemies to become lovers and you're like smiling, grinning, and kicking your feet. Like it's such a surprise, but like that's why you picked it up to begin with. Um,
Yes.
yeah, but we've done that before. We've been watching something and be like, oh, yeah, they're going to do this. Like, oh, this person is actually like, a double agent. Like this person, isn't their friend. And she's going to be like, how did you know that? I'm like, cues. Like,
Yeah.
you got to think about, or when the minor character is going to die because they get more screen time and you go,
Yeah.
they're going to die within X amount of time. And she's just like, no, they're not. They're not important enough to die dead. Like,
Or like that moment you realize you're like, I really love this character. Oh no.
yeah, yeah, I'm sure book one had some of those moments.
Oh yeah, definitely. What was the most surprising thing for you after publishing? Like, was there anything that took you by surprise?
The feedback. So the rating on Goodreads, I haven't checked it in a while, but the rating on Goodreads, within the first like month or so was really, really high. It was like 4.7 out of 5. Um,
Wow.
and like obviously I love my book and I think it's the best and it's amazing, but also I'm a terrible writer. This is terrible. No one ever wants to read this. So seeing that, it was ridiculous. Like, and being able to use numbers like that in my marketing leading up to it, because like my ARC readers were very on the ball with putting their ratings up of it and everything. So um yeah, that was really good. And then I've had so many people like my father-in-law is begging me for book two. Like we went up and saw him the other weekend so my husband could do a blacksmithing course and my father-in-law turns around and goes, you can come up if you have book two. Um, yeah, it's insane. Like I'm married into a very, very supportive family. Um, or people like messaging me, like another one of my friends, does like fan fiction and role play and all that. And they go, you've said not to show you anything until you finish the series, which is fine. But just so you know, I'm using your Caprier story and all of that as an AU for my characters.
Ooh,
Yep.
wow.
Yep. So, that was probably the most insane, especially considering the characters that they're using are from a very, very popular series that we bonded over. And to be like, oh, these characters that pretty much everybody in Book Talk world know about are going to be writing these creatures that I created. Like, it's insane.
Oh, that's incredible. And like, because I imagine that it must be such a vulnerable thing to write this story. Because, like I said about the whole introvert thing, it's all you for
Yeah.
so long, and then to put it out in the world, like coming up to the launch, how did you handle those emotions and everything?
Um, I was in denial for a lot of it. I tuned out for a lot of it. for the event and being the event and the debut, I think I probably did it in the best way possible because I got two really scary things over and done with in the same day. But I didn't sleep. And I look back on the photos and you could see that like my eyes were puffier each day. Like it was so bad. Um, but yeah, I was really in denial of like, this is actually what's happening. And kind of like pushed it out of my head. Um, but there's always that fear, right? And like, I am un I am known for being picky about realism. Not necessarily accuracy, because obviously you're not transporting into that time. Um, but the realism based on where people create their worlds and where that's based off, and it all has to make sense. Um, so I was very worried that someone was going to go into my book and be like, you claim to be all about this realism. You like preach about it basically. Um, but then you went and done this. And like, obviously, like, that's something that, like, the book's out there. Like, it's not in my hands anymore, and people are going to have criticisms. Um, but thankfully that hasn't happened yet. But yeah, that's my biggest fear of people going, okay, you say this, but then you went and done this. Like, yeah,
Yeah. And I think it's a hard thing too because writing is a form of art and all art is subjective, right? So
yeah,
like there's this quote and I'm gonna get it wrong. But I'm pretty sure it's from Stephen King and he says like, you know, you start writing a book in your head and it finishes in the reader's head.
yeah,
So you can't determine how they're going to interpret certain things, and they might not have specific knowledge, so they might be thinking of it differently to how you intended it to be and
mm,
stuff like that. So there's a point where it's like, ah.
yeah. And it's interesting because like you can tell where people came into my writing process when they were learning about it. Um, Sirius and Tristan are both. I'm not gonna get say the character, but like you can guess based on some of the comments. Where they go, me and my homies hate this character, whereas this character is an absolute favorite of one of my beta readers, and I've been told if anything happens to them, that I'm gonna get in trouble. Um, they make it to the end of the book, to the end of the series. That's all I'm saying. All five make it to the end of the series. Whether they survive or whether they want to make it to the end of the series is a completely different matter. But the fact that like the characters evolve even during the writing, not just in their character arc over like the series, but one character was supposed to be really snooty, really up themselves, um, and absolutely blinded by their own privilege, and then became like I think they're probably one of the most sympathetic characters, really. Um, and the fact that they get put through so much, I mean, they all get put through so much, but like this particular character, like I'll be talking to my artist and to my husband about like, oh, this is what's happening. And they go, yes, good. I hate them. And I'm like, but, but no, no, please, sweet little baby. So,
Yeah, I think with characters that people hate, at least for me, I can always usually, unless they're like fully evil and no like redeemable qualities, right? And then to a point, that's like, is that really a well written character if there's absolutely no redeemable qualities?
yeah.
Um, but like, there's other books that I was reading where there's a character that's horrible and all this stuff, but at the same time, I'm like pitying them because they've, what they were promised for this world they're not getting and they don't understand why, and they're just like, well, no, this is what you told me would happen and it's not happening, so I'm gonna be a raging bitch.
Yeah. And then I think even with my main villains like Kados and Lalara, there is a definite difference between their two motives as well. Just for anybody out there, if I catch anybody simping over Kados, it's over. No, we're not talking about, we're not doing that. His brother is much more attractive. Um, I'm not sure if you heard her, but she was just screaming. Um, but yeah, like obviously we haven't seen them two very much, but we do get a lot more interactions with them in book two from about three or four of the POV characters actually run into
Oh,
Kados and Lalara at some point. So we do get to see a bit more of them. And obviously, you've got your main, your villains that you think are the villains, but then you've got puppeteers. And I'm
yeah.
really excited to show the puppeteers.
Yeah.
Like, so excited because you look at their motives and you go, no, that you can't even justify them. It's not morally grey. Like I went black. Like it's, yeah.
I have no problem believing that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for this interview. It has been such a great time.
Thank you.
Where can everyone find you and your books?
So I'm available on Amazon. I do also have the special edition, well, not even special edition, but the hidden dust jackets available on Amazon as well. You just got to find the right IBSN, and I have posted about that, but I can also send you that information to put in like posts and stuff. And my ebooks are available on Kindle Unlimited as well. But I also have merch and physical signed copies at ellebrockett.com.au.
I'll link all that below. And um, your socials?
Yep, they are all bibliography because
And
I
again, they
love
will
a
also be
pun.
down below. Well, thank you so much. I like every now and then I just think of this book, like this and one other indie author one, like I think were like equal for my favorite read of last year.
Oh, I'm so proud.
And
Thank you.
I'm just like I always just want to like go back and reread it, but I'm like that's gonna take so much time. But and I'm like
But
I
it's
need to
time well
wait
spent.
just before the second one comes out, and then I have it all fresh, and then just boom.
Yes, yeah. Oh, your time once the end of like the last book comes out. Oh, that's going to be a big slog.